So, quick refresher on box breath. I know we all know, but four sides of the breath. There's an inhale for a duration, an equal part pause for a duration, an exhale for a duration, and an equal part pause. So, we're going to set this from seat and then we're going to carry this through the practice. Let's start with a 6 count here. So, just palms up, sternum kind of open, spine vertical. We'll inhale for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll pause with the breath held for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll exhale for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll hold again for 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take this back to the inhale for a 6 count. And you will hold at the end of the inhale. Exhale for a 6 count. You hold at the end of the exhale. And then when you're ready, you start that inhale again. We're just going to cycle through a few rounds just in this static seated position. I'm going to provide the distraction of talking. Your goal is to kind of build the operating system of being able to run our box breath, have the distraction of audio interference. Eventually, we'll add physical interference. You who happen to be in practice yesterday, you know that even in a restorative practice, it's hard to maintain this conscious focus. It's likely hard. You likely know this. Maybe it was easy for you. But our goal today is to carry this box breath through the entirety of practice. The goal is to build this capacity for conscious operating systems, forefront, maybe the movement, while in the background, we're running the box breath. We're listening to the story I'm going to tell. Everything is a distraction, and yet we're continuing to build out this skill set. Bonus challenge. When you get to the exhale cycle of your next cycle, no rush to make that true. When you get to the exhale, we're going to move to tabletop. In tabletop, we pause, we have that hold. When you're done with your hold, you'll inhale. You'll hold. And then when you get to the exhale, we're just going to curl the toes and roll back into down dog. And just cycle through a whole breath, box breath here. When you get back to your exhale, we're going to come back down to hands and knees tabletop. There's no rush to make that true. Just when you get to exhale, we come back to tabletop. And we're just going to pause in tabletop and just check in with our capacity to cycle through our box breath. An equal parts inhale, an equal parts pause, an equal parts exhale, an equal parts pause. You're going to hear that from me over and over in this practice. It's likely frustrating. It's likely distracting. It's likely annoying. But it is an added challenge that adds benefit. Let's challenge ourselves this evening. When you get to the next exhale cycle of your breath, you're going to carry that back into child's pose. No rush to get there. When you do, And as you land in child's pose, we're just going to find our way into that breath. There's this old wise woman who's invited her very, very good childhood friend. He's this world-renowned yogi. And the invite has inspired him to offer a blessing for this old woman's village. And she's quite excited to both see her childhood friend and also be able to share the blessing of who this being is with the people she lives with. The next time that you get to your inhale cycle of breath, we're going to utilize that inhale to pull our way back into tabletop. We'll pause for our equal parts pause. And then you'll utilize your exhale to curl your toes and find your way back into down dog. Cycle all the way through your breath when you do get there. And then we're going to utilize the next exhale to walk our way forward into fold. Holding for the pause, getting into the inhale and utilizing that to get our half lift. Holding for the pause. And then releasing your way back into your fold. The next time you get to your inhale breath, we're going to utilize the inhale to roll our way up into mountain. And into mountain, we're going to release the necessity to link the breath and the movement. The cycle of breath here is equal parts inhale, equal parts pause, equal parts exhale, equal parts pause. And we've been utilizing the direction of breath to integrate with movement. That's going to go away for the rest of practice. The cycle of breath is going to stay with us, but where we are in our breath cycle will no longer mirror where we are in our movement cycle. It allows us to kind of individuate. And so if a count or a respiration rate that works for you is different than works for anyone else, we can all move on individual pacing. So your focus here is to maintain your box breath, and then we'll work through some primary shapes. One last thing I'm going to say before we get moving. We are consciously overriding our body's programming here, right? We're taking control of the breath. Really make sure you're nourishing yourself. If you feel lightheaded, if you feel like it's not syncing, if it's not working, let it go. Try to come back to it. So when you're ready, maintaining your box breath, when you're ready, we're going to slide our left foot straight back into lunge. And sweep the arms into crescent. When it feels appropriate for you, hands drop to heart center and we step to the front of the mat. Maintaining your equal parts inhale, equal parts exhale, equal parts pause on each side. Sliding the right foot straight back. Sweeping the arms to crescent. Dropping the hands to heart center and stepping to the front of the mat. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And we'll forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands and we'll walk our way back into down dog.
We've likely, again, maybe this is easy peasy for you, but we've likely already found the challenge of this breath and this practice. When we start adding movement, it's very hard to maintain this conscious programming of our breath. And it's also hard to oxygenate the blood. When it feels appropriate, hands and knees tabletop, flip the tops of the feet, and sink your way back into child's pose.
Settling here, seeing if you can find a rhythm in your box breath that nourishes your body, that oxygenates your blood, that allows for full respiration, full inhale and exhale exchange of that expended and fresh and renewed breath. This yogi gets to town and he sees his old childhood friend, and they greet each other with a big hug and a joyous smile and hearty laugh. She invites him back to her house. They're going to have a little tea and talk about the next few days. He has this idea that he wants to offer a contest. He's brought with him a life experience measuring machine, something that he invented, that he worked up, where you can write down your life experiences on this very special sheet of paper. And then you can weigh these life experiences against other people's life experiences. And she's listening to this, and he concludes the way she expected. And I want to offer the blessing to whoever experiences life in the grandest scale. She gets pretty quiet. When you're ready, let's pull our way forward to tabletop. Set the awareness in the fingerprints, in the finger mounds, right? We're maintaining all of the technicality of our positioning while adding the technicality of our breath, this constant kind of annoyance, this constant additional challenge, this constant extra thing to focus on. When it feels appropriate, as it feels appropriate, let's curl our toes and we'll roll our way back into down dog.
That allow here, express that high calf insertion musculature. Feel the posterior chain getting that full length and expression. When it feels appropriate, let's walk our way to the front of the mat. Inhaling into half lift. Releasing back into fold. Taking your awareness to your sacrum and rolling our way up vertebrae by vertebrae. Bring your hands together at heart center. Locking in here, squeezing the glutes enough to maintain some stability, the quads enough to maintain some stability. Note how your blood oxygen level is doing. Just, are you feeling oxygenated? When it feels appropriate for you, we'll slide our left foot straight back into lunge. Ground our left heel and roll our way into warrior two. Think about the verticality of the spine here, the width of the shoulder girdle. Gaze straight down that middle finger on the right hand. Think about the placement of the femur here so that the femur and the tibia and fibia are just perfectly aligned. That middle inseam of that front foot and that back toe mound. And at the same time, we're maintaining our box respiration, right? All of this technicality here. When it feels appropriate, left heel spins up. We'll sweep to crescent and then drop the hands and step to the front of the mat.
When you're ready, right foot slides straight back. Ground the right heel, roll to 2. Think about the verticality of the spine, the width across the shoulder girdle. Think about the positioning of the femur on that left leg, that perfectly vertical tibia fibia on the front leg. Good engagement and strength in that back quad. Think about what the scapula are doing and maintain your equal parts inhale, equal parts pause, equal parts exhale, equal parts pause. When it feels appropriate for you, the right heel spins up and we're back into crescent. Drop the hands and step to the front of the mat. Make sure you are respirating in a way that is nourishing you. When you're ready, we'll sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, release into forward fold. I did so good. Take your lift and then release back into fold. Plant our hands, we'll walk our way back into down dog. When it feels appropriate, tabletop, child's pose. Child's pose here, particularly this evening, is almost like a catch-up. We're doing things out of sync with our breath, and we programmed our body, right? It's second nature for me to say exhale into your forward fold, right? But you may be in the pause of a hold on your forward fold here. And so when we're moving our body out of sync with how we're normally respirating, it's a whole new level of challenge. It's not just that we're running this conscious programming, overriding our autonomous respiratory system. It is that the physicality itself is almost like fighting the way we're respirating. When you're ready, the fingertips are going to grip into the mat and we'll pull our way to tabletop. That the stability and the weight distribution across your handprints. Keep the finger mounds and fingerprints active in the mat and just send your right leg straight back and behind you. Toes point towards the back end of your room. And think about sending the crown of your head straight out towards the front of the room. And then bend the right knee so the bottom of the right foot can point straight up towards the ceiling. Again, this is likely going to be out of sync with your breath. Maybe it works exactly as you normally think, but we're going to bring the right knee to the right elbow. And then that right knee is going to come down to the mat. Pay attention to the weight distribution. Pay attention to your respiration cycle. When you feel like the weight distribution is ideal, then the left leg straight back, point those toes. Keep that balanced distribution across the front of the body, the shoulder girdle. When it feels appropriate, we'll bend the left knee, bottom of the left foot points towards the ceiling or sky. And then we'll draw that left knee to the left elbow. And eventually we'll drop the left foot. Curl the toes, lift the seat, and fully express that posterior chain again. Walk the feet out to the width of the mat so that we have a little bit of a wider version of down dog. And think about just pushing your tailbone straight back towards the back of your room.
And then when it feels appropriate, let's walk to the front of the mat. We'll lift to half lift. Release back to fold. And then roll or sweep your way up in a mountain. Hands coming together at heart center. Pause here, slow things down. Remember that you can use the big leg musculature to help stabilize. And then when it's appropriate for you, the left foot's going to slide straight back. We're going to maintain the positioning of our shoulder girdle and hip girdle while we ground the left heel. And then sweep the arms to warrior one. Want to smooth into that front leg so we can find the verticality of the tibia and fibia. And then when it's appropriate for you, left heel will spin up. We'll drop the hands and return to mountain. We find this verticality as we keep this ease in mountain. Mountain becomes kind of another island of recovery here. And then we'll move to side two. Right foot slides straight back. Hip girdle, shoulder girdle stay as the right heel grounds. We'll sweep to warrior one. We want to maintain the verticality of the torso, the neutrality of the spine. Moving into that front quad so that we have that vertical tibia and fibia on the left leg. Eventually that right heel will spin up. We'll drop the hands. Step back to our island here of mountain. We just breathe. We find fluidity in that box breath. When it feels appropriate for you, we're going to sink the seat back into chair, staying with the verticality of the tibia and fibia here, hinging at the hips so that we can push the tailbone back. Hands can stay at heart center. You can extend them if that feels right for your shoulders. And then we will drop to fold. Let the posterior chain express. Inhale, lift to half lift. Sorry. It's just second nature. Release back into fold. Plant your hands and walk to down dog. Drop the hands and knees tabletop. Flip the tops of the feet and find your way to child's pose. Back in, make sure that you're becoming more and more adept at this box breath. Remember, if you lose your way at any time, not a big deal. Just start right back over. Equal parts inhale, equal parts pause, equal parts exhale, equal parts pause. And so this yogi looks at his childhood friend and he knows she's upset about something and he just kind of laughs. Says, what? I don't want to make this a contest between the villagers. I don't want anyone to lose here. I thought you were going to come and bless the whole village. And he kind of chuckles. He's like, you've always wanted everyone to win. Fine. Here's what we'll do. We'll find a compromise here. Let's run the contest. We'll see who lives the most expressive life here. And whoever wins can be bestowed the honor
of winning the blessing for the whole village. She has this kind of little smile that you know the two have shared 1,000 times in their life. They understand each other. Here's this deal. And so the next morning, they announce that they're going to have a 24-hour contest. They announce it to the village. They explain the life experience measuring device that this yogi has created. They give everyone their official sheet of paper. And they tell everyone to go out and for 24 hours, express their life as deeply and intently as possible. When it feels appropriate for you, let's pull to tabletop. Curl the toes, lift the seat, down dog. And when it's appropriate, we'll walk to full. Take your half lift. Release to fold. Roll or sweep the mountain. Dropping the hands to heart center. Our left foot straight back into ledge. Ground our left heel and roll to 2. Think about vertical spine. Think about box respiration. Slide back into the right hamstring. Start to reach that right hand forward. We'll drop our way into triangle or into a triangle-esque shape. Remember, you can bend that front knee. And we'll all bend that front knee. Lift our way to 2. Think about the shoulder girdle width here. Bring the left heel up into crescent. Think about the strength in that back leg, no bend in that back knee. Drop the hands and we'll find our way back to our little recovery island of mountain. Equal parts inhale, equal parts exhale, equal parts pause on both sides. Just finding our way back to that box respiration anytime we lose it, anytime that it feels frustrating. Just try to push yourself in. We won't do this next week. 1 week a challenge in a row at least. When you're ready, we're headed to side 2. Right foot slides straight back. We'll ground and roll to 2. Slide back into your left hamstring. And we're heading towards triangle or triangle-esque. Remember, the front knee can bend. When you feel balanced, we'll bend the front knee. Lift our way into 2. Right heel spins to crescent. Think about the strength of that back leg here. Hands drop and we'll return to mountain. Tuck back in with your box respiration. We'll sweep the arms. Drop to fold. Take your half lift. Release the fold. Bend your hands and walk to down dog. If down dog can be a spot of respiration here, a spot of ease, a spot of recovery. Remember that in down dog,
The legs should be doing most of the work. If they're not, we want to bend the knees enough so that they can. And then when you're ready, tabletop, child's pose. Recovery Island here, finding our way into a nourishing box breath. And so the villagers are really excited about this idea. This is a happy, productive village, but the opportunity to kind of compete against one another is fun. Nobody takes it too seriously, and everybody kind of lives in their own lane within this village. So there's a businesswoman who owns kind of multiple businesses on Main Street, and she goes back, she sits down at her computer and she starts kind of working through spreadsheets, and every kind of thing she finds in a spreadsheet, she writes down on her sheet. Every new possibility for a stream of revenue, she writes down on her sheet. And she's really getting into this contest. She's really appreciating this like push to experience life and to push her life onto the sheet of paper as much as is possible. We'll give ourselves just 15 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate for you, we are going to pull our way to tabletop and extend our legs straight out in front of us. So we're done with our standing poses for this practice. We are going to use a ball and a blanket here kind of at the end, not right now, but having it handy works. And then when it feels appropriate for you, make a determination. Do you want to continue to just kind of stay in your cycle and move when you move? Or do you want to sync your breath up now that we have a little bit more control? We're going to head into a traditional seated forward fold. And in this fold, we're going to maintain that connection that we've brought into practice, this box breath. And I'm really gonna kind of task you with another layer here. Each time that you get to your exhale side of the breath, can you see if you can release a little further into your fold? Can you find a little bit more space?
Give ourselves just about 60 more seconds here. And so this businesswoman just really, really gets into this contest. And it's the same thing. There's a kind of a endurance athlete who lives in this village. And she is so excited for this contest. It's just right up her alley. She takes her official sheet of paper home, and she gets home and she starts just alternating between these huge sets of push-ups and sit-ups. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When it feels appropriate for you, we're gonna find our way staff. And then let's take our blanket. We're just gonna make a little neck taco. So ball goes in the middle of a blanket on shelf fold. We'll just fold that over, and then that's gonna come behind us. We didn't do a neck adjustment in yesterday's practice, so we're gonna get our weekly neck adjustment in this evening. As you release yourself back, find the ball somewhere between the base of the cervical spine and the top of the cervical spine, and just let it offer that neck adjustment. At the same time, we have more physical control here. We're static, but we want to find more depth within our box breath now. So allow yourself the opportunity to really drop in to these 4 panels of respiration. Give ourselves just 60 more seconds here. when it feels appropriate, we can take that blanket ball out from underneath us. We'll take the ball and just set that to the side. Let's take our blanket and unfold that once so that it gets to towel length. And then we'll just roll that up to the side for now, but having it handy. And let's add a little dynamic sway through the knees. Rotating the lumbar. Just a reminder that you can make the determination whether you want to move how we traditionally move with the exhales into the rotation and the inhales to neutral, or if you just want to move and have the box breath programming running in the background, like two separate things that are not in any way linked. Either one works here. Both of them have their own advantages. And so this endurance athlete, when she's done with set after set of alternating push-ups and sit-ups, she looks at her sheet of paper and it has a lot on it. But she gets up and without even thinking, she just takes off on a run. And as she's running through town, she sees the local gardener. And he is just dropping plug after plug of flowers into all of the common spaces. And each time he drops the plug in, he's writing it down. And he sees this athlete as she just tears through town at a speed he's never seen her moving at. And he waves and he smiles, and everybody knows what's going on. Through the bakery window, the local baker is folding over and folding over and folding over a sheet of phyllo dough as she makes croissant after croissant after croissant. Of her least favorite thing because of how labor intensive they are. But not today. Today she's tallying it down on this sheet. Go one more time in each direction. And then when you feel your way back to neutral, just land here for a moment. We'll take our blanket or towel, toss that over the top of the ankles, let the bottoms of the feet come together and let the knees fall out wide. We just land back in our box respiration. Equal parts inhale, equal parts exhale, equal parts pause on both sides. And so for the next 24 hours, this little village that is generally a hive of activity is a hive of mega activity. Everyone is just going all out and they're all encouraging one another and they're all having a really good time and they're all being really, really incredibly productive. And eventually, the yogi hits this big giant gong. And that's the signal that time's up. And the baker looks at her sheet and it is full. And this endurance athlete looks at her sheet and it is full. Same thing with the businesswoman and the gardener. And person after person after person in this village shows up to this weighing contest with these sheets of paper that are like almost black. There's been so much written on them. The way this weighing device works is it's like an old school scale. You put one thing on one side, you put another thing on the other side, and it determines which one's the heaviest. And so they just start comparing and comparing and comparing when it feels appropriate, as it feels appropriate. Bring our knees back to neutral. I can set that prop to the side. And just find your way into a shape where you can appreciate some stillness for your version of Shavasana. So everyone's sheet is weighed. And the yogi and this old wise woman are kind of looking at one another. And the old wise woman, she's just waiting for her friend, this yogi, to announce the winner. And he's pausing and he's waiting, and she's like, what are you waiting for? And he looks at her and he says, you haven't turned in your sheet of paper yet. And she turns bright red. Just finding your version of stillness and ease here. Make a determination whether you want to release your box breath or you want to keep that all the way till the end of practice. And then just be still. So this wise woman kind of whispers under her breath to her childhood friend, "What are you doing?" I didn't do anything. And he says, "Everyone else in town turned in their sheet. You have to turn in yours as well." And she says, I didn't do anything." "Well, you did something. Write it down." She gets a pencil and she writes down, she woke up, did 15 minutes of box breath, went outside with a little breakfast muffin, and I ground up part of it and fed it to the ants. I went on a walk into the forest, just listened to the bees. And I came here. And she kind of sheepishly hands it to him, and the piece of paper that is leading, that has weighed the most on this life experience weighing machine, is on the scale. And the yogi puts her paper on the other side. And her paper just slams down, indicating it is dramatically heavier. And she turns even brighter red, and she's like, "No, what is this? No, this is not fair. I did not." And the entire village just goes crazy, just erupts into applause. We'll start to bring some movement into our fingers and our toes. Into our wrists and our ankles. Up into our elbows and our knees. Shoulders, hips, spine, neck, head, jaw, tongue. Eventually, the entirety of our body will move, and we'll utilize that movement to transition into a seat. And in the seated space, spine gets tall. Whether you're still in that box breath or you've released that, breath is fluid. Eyes can close. And he looks at his longtime friend, and he says to her, "I told you this was a life experience weighing machine. And the depth at which you experience things is what this is measuring." With our next inhale, we'll bring our hands together, heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself the impact of the weight with which you experience life? See how that impacts you. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's practice, this box breath experiment, and for being you. Namaste. Happy Monday, guys. Appreciate you being here. Love you guys so much. I will be back on Sunday to recharge. Have a beautiful week. Thank you so much for being you. Mwah.